And welcome to Driving Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into today's episode, be sure to check out our Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/Driving Double Feature Podcast, you got fun games, fun conversations, all for $5 a month. You help support us, but no main show content is locked behind there. Today, we are talking about 1953's The Wild One, starring Marlon Brando and directed by Laszlo Benedek, who is, he's kind of an old school director. We've never covered him before, but he did the original 50s Death of a Salesman. But I think the most important part of this movie, or person that made this movie, is Stanley Kramer, who is the producer of this movie, which Stanley Kramer was he produced films around this time, a lot of them about social topics. So he did movies like Look Who's Coming to Dinner, The Defiant Ones, Judgment at Nuremberg, Inherent the Wind, a lot of like socially conscious movies, but also made some amazing ones that aren't even socially conscious, like High Noon. One of like the great film producers of his time. So this one is brought to you by Stanley Kramer, and it stars Marlon Brando. So there's like a duo that just already brings in a lot of interest. So this movie, I've never seen it, known of it a long time, because one of the most iconic film images is of Marlon Brando on a motorcycle wearing his motorcycle fit. That is just like iconic to Marlon Brando in general, one of the most famous actors of all time. And also the movie The Bike Riders. Did you see The Bike Riders that came out a few years ago with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy?
I No, but I'd seen, so I knew that that movie was heavily inspired by this movie.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting in that movie, Tom Hardy specifically in the movie watches The Wild One on TV, and that's what inspires him to start a motorcycle gang. And that's why he acts like Marlon Brando in that movie, because his character is emulating him in that movie. And that movie had clips from this in it. So I've been really interested in watching this one. But I know you've seen this movie before, right?
Yeah, I had watched it in one of my UCF film classes. So this is
Nice.
one of the movies where we had talked about. I think this is like we were doing movies from specific decades, and I think this is one of the movies from the 50s that we talked about.
I feel like that's an interesting topic, because I guess we could get into it a little bit, but this movie is based off of a 1947 riot that happened on 4th of July, where a bunch of bikers came to a 4th of July celebration and completely wrecked a town full of drinking and all of that. And there's like a famous picture of like a guy, like a drunk guy on a bike or something. It's based off of that. Of course, it's the 50s and we're basing a movie on a true story. So that means it's nothing like the true story, and completely just a film on its own. And not only that, but this movie did release in the US in the 50s, but in other countries like the United Kingdom, this movie got like an X rating and was not allowed to release. Like this movie was highly, highly controversial. I'm looking at it. Yeah, this movie was banned in the United Kingdom for 14 years. Didn't come out until the 60s in that country,
Now,
which
what a nothing issue.
exactly, yeah. If I'm trying to find the quote, but it was pretty much like, oh, it's promoting that it's good to be a hooligan. That was like basically it supports hooliganism, even though it really doesn't.
It
But
doesn't.
yeah, but that's what the British government thought at the time. I couldn't even imagine a movie like this having an X rating, and it got an X when it finally came out in 1968, which is insane to me, because like a few years later you'd get like Fritz the Cat, which is like a very nasty, deserved X rating movie, at least for the time period it came out in. Uh, just goofy. Um, but anyway, getting into this movie, it is a biker movie, and I love the opening credits rolling, and then they're all biking in front of the green screen, and they're just kind of leaning a little bit to the green
Yeah.
screen. It's a great visual. Um, but they just roll into this town where a real motorcycle race is going on, where it's like an actual like bike race, and you kind of get into like what you kind of get into what they're like. They antagonize everybody at this bike race. And there's the one time that's completely awful where they just walk in front of the bike race and they stop
Yeah.
the race for like a second.
I like this gang because like they should call them like the Hat Gang because they all have different little hats. Did you notice like nobody ever had the
Yes.
same hat?
Yeah. There's no like uniform. I mean, like Marlon Brando stands out because he looks so different. He's in a very different outfit in general compared to everybody. Um, and they're quite a gang. They drop a lot of lingo, like people being square and like you want to post up stuff. I don't think they say post up, but they it's just all the kinds of 50s lingo in here.
Yeah, and they're kind of watching this motorcycle race and they're like not interested at all because they're like, that's not real motorcycling. That what we're doing is the real thing.
Yes, and they get on everybody's nerves in the town, and it. I guess it's to show like the differences in how both towns work because the cops show up and they're like, "You need to get out of here," right? Like you're pushing people around and everything, and the cops get them out of that town as fast as possible, and that's when they move on to the next town. But while they're there, Marlon Brando does steal a trophy, which I think he steals the second place trophy, not the first
Yeah.
place.
Well, yeah, because like it was like one of his little flunkies that stole it,
Mm.
and they're like, because they got him like the second place one. They're like, why'd you take the second place? Why not first place? First place was like this big. Why was I supposed to steal it? Type of thing.
Yeah. And but Marlon Brando takes it, and when he gets to the next town, he kind of passes it off as his own. He shows it off so much, like he's just like, yeah, this is mine, and he lies about it. But
So weird.
it's so weird. Marlon Brando's character in this movie makes no sense to me. I know he's troubled. I know he's like a troubled person. He's dealing with his own inner demons, but I think he makes some weird decisions in this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, even for like a gang like is that's supposed to be threatening, like if there was a gang like this now, like nobody would pay them any attention
Yeah,
whatsoever.
they'd be like, "Oh, look at these goofy guys!" Like, because like they're
Yeah.
just kind of a little loud and they like to get drunk. But like, think about a gang. What a gang meant like 30 years later after this
Oh,
movie.
oh yeah, like imagine if like a gang of like today was like in a
Oh my
town like
God!
that. That
Now
just
that
feel
would
like
be horrible. These are guys that just like kind of drive loud. I don't think anybody has a gun. No, none of them have a gun, right?
I don't think any of them do, no.
The guns do show up later in the movie, but yeah, they're just kind of loud and rambunctious. They're actually kind of like a lovable gang in a way. They're kind of silly. Like it's very maybe not for then, but now it's kind of like oh, it's kind of antiquated a little.
Yeah, I mean they do a little mischief, like they dance in the street and make a lot of loud noises, and they go into like a beauty shop and take like the big hair dryers and like are wearing them like space helmets, like oh.
Yeah, you're making these guys sound goofy, which they kind of are. But yeah, they roll into this town and they just they accidentally like they almost get in an accident with no, they do get in an accident. What am I saying? There's an old guy going across the street with his car, and then he runs the motorcycle into one of the motorcycles runs into
You
him.
have a little race and it, yeah.
Yeah, but no cars get damaged. Everything is fine. So the cops kind of like, okay, we'll just deal with it. That's fine. We'll just move on. And that's kind of the cop's position for this whole movie. He's a very passive sheriff in this town.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like the one thing about this town is they're not really like uh they don't really shun these people at all. I mean, they're almost kind of like welcoming, like at
Yeah.
first when they show up
Hmm.
to this town, because they're like, it's like, hey, like where do we go to the motel? They're like, oh, well, there's a hotel over there if you want to stay there. Like, oh,
Oh,
hotel.
this town's got a
Ooh.
hotel, huh? Yeah, but that's the guy who's like runs the bar and like and he's like offers them beers and everything. He's very welcoming to this gang.
Yeah, and then there's another that's like a diner slash bar where it's like, because it's where this is where we run into like our female love
Hmm.
interest character for Marlon Brando, because he walks in, he's like, yeah, I want to be a, and And she's like, oh, like that's me.
He comes in mumbling.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Marlon Brando for you. Which I think about. I've seen this scene before. I don't know where I've seen it before, but I know this scene in the movie where he walks in and they're like wants a beer and they're on the restaurant side and she's like, "Oh, you have to go to the bar for that." And literally the both of them just walk through a door into the bar and she serves him a drink on the bar side. I mean, it's probably just a 50s thing, but I'm just like it's just so
It's such a
silly to me.
yeah, I thought that too. I was like, that's such a dumb design.
Yeah, like, oh, no, you got to get it at the bar. And then literally she just walks like over to the bar.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
a complete scenery change. It's like they just like walk through. It's like, oh, now because it's completely different setup too, like in that one. Like it's just like different furniture. It's like there's
mhm.
no it's almost like two different restaurants, like just like glued together.
And it's such a long scene. It makes me wonder if they just put something in like this just to lengthen it out because this movie is only 79 minutes. This is a short movie. But yeah, they're kind of spitting it with each other. Of course, Marlon Brando's character, he's very cold, doesn't talk a lot. It's obvious he likes her, but he doesn't really have the words for it. He would never admit to any type of emotion other than anger. And that's kind of what we get in this movie because one of the last lines of this movie is that he gets off with a crime and the cop's just kind of like, well, are you going to thank them for that? And he literally just can't say thank you. And she says he doesn't know how to say thank you. Like he doesn't know how to have any gratitude, which makes him so
Maybe
awesome.
maybe she like literally meant that. He can't say the words. Like he didn't know what thank you
Yeah.
means.
Well, did you
He
watch
just
the Wild Zero, the prequel to this, where there's a spell on him where he can't speak without mumbling, and also he can't say thank you.
he's just that illiterate. He just did not know what the word thank you meant.
Yeah, he's like, huh? Thank you. I've never heard of that one. Yeah. So, how did you feel about Marlon Brando's performance in this movie? That's probably one of the big things in this.
He's fine.
That's how I felt. Like, okay,
Uh,
Marlon Brando has done great roles, obviously, but this one just feels so like it feels like him. Like it just doesn't feel like I'm getting much out of the performance.
It's like, I mean, there's also been bad
Oh,
Brando
of course.
performances.
Oh yeah.
This one, it just seems kind of like he's going for like a whole vibe versus uh actually like having some depth to this character. But because
Yeah.
you think like, I mean, there's obviously something going on with this character where he faced some type of trauma or
Hmm.
something like that they're not digging into whatsoever, but we don't really get like any kind of taste of that. It's just kind of like he's been kind of like this misunderstood guy, like a bad guy, I guess, and he's just kind of like, well, if you think I'm a bad guy, I guess I'm a bad guy type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. We get no like depth or anything like that, which I mean I think is interesting for the time. It fits into the method acting style where it's like you're supposed to just like this is the character for you and this is all you're gonna get. Because like I could totally understand seeing this in the 50s and being totally enraptured by this performance because we've talked about this with a few times, but there's not a lot of performances like this at this time. So when you come in, you don't over explain, you're not very theatrical, you're quiet, that must have been mind blowing at the time.
It seems so odd for a movie that's not I'm not trying to be mean but a movie that's nothing really special on the surface, but
Hmm.
it's still like extremely influential for like
Hmm.
a generation as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like something you have to look at too. Is just like how influential that performance is, the style, the mood of this movie. It definitely feels like maybe watching it now, it's harder to get into because you weren't a part of that cultural that time. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't particularly love this movie, and I love Kramer movies. I love movies from this time, but I just don't think it really does a lot. I honestly found it a little dull, which is surprising for this.
Well, we get a lot of scenes of this biker gang like
Mhm.
causing mischief and stuff like that. So it's just at a certain point it kind of just wears thin.
Mhm.
I didn't hate the movie.
No,
I I I just don't think it's anything great. It's nothing I would. I mean, if you know about it already, you've probably already seen it because you're into like motorcycles or something like that. But
yeah. I think we're gonna
I,
get some motorcycle enthusiasts on the YouTube comments calling us morons.
so be it. But I just, for me, I didn't really connect with it all that much. I mean,
Mm,
I remember liking it more, honestly, when I watched it, uh, however many years ago it was.
mhm.
But watching it again, I was just kind of like, I mean, there's certain shots of this movie that
Oh,
I did like. I
it's
mean,
it feels like a movie. Whenever I look at the date of 1954, I'm surprised. This movie feels ahead of its time.
yeah, there's definitely some cinematography going on that I definitely can appreciate. I mean, there's nothing in here that I would call particularly bad. I guess
No,
just it's just the plot of the movie is kind of drags for a bit. And like you said, this is only a 70-minute movie and it already kind of feels like it drags a little bit, which is not a good sign.
not at all. And I think it just comes with like it's a lot and it feels like it had a very small idea and they had to stretch it because Lee Marvin is actually part of a rival gang and he's the leader and they roll in and then it becomes kind of like this rival gang fight. Or at least that's what you think it's going to be because they get in there and they're kind of yelling at each other. But the rival gang actually, Lee Marvin gets arrested. And that's kind of when the cracks start to form because Marlon Brando starts to get away with crimes. People start to get away with crimes. The cop even tries to make a deal. It's like, hey, if you if you just go away, I'll make sure nobody goes to jail. And of course, Marlon Brando is like, no, I don't make deals with cops. I hate cops. But the sheriff is the girl's dad. So it's like this whole, it's a nice love triangle movie too, which I feel like the movie doesn't delve too deep into. But yeah, it just starts to drag at that point because it's kind of just like a lot of back and forth, a lot of yelling, a lot of town people just being like, oh, I want him gone, but it eventually turns into the town decides to lynch them, or at least like they get out guns and then looks like a lynching. And they actually kidnap Marlon Brando, and Marlon Brando pretty much gets tortured in one scene and will not back down because it's not in his nature.
Yeah, I mean it's just some random mob that just kind of captured him and they're constantly just beating him and getting him all bloodied and
Hmm.
you kind of get some when I mentioned like that trauma you do get like some mention of that like when one guy like punches him right in the face, he said like my dad hit it a lot harder than that.
Yeah, where yeah, it's very one off, which I think is interesting writing for the time. I feel like it could have been a little more soapboxy. Um, But anyway, they finally get out of there. The big thing at the end of the movie is that someone throws a tire iron.
He's
Um,
trying to get away on his bike.
yeah, and the tire iron gets thrown and it ends up killing somebody. And then
Well,
oh, go ahead.
some guy throws a tire iron. It hits Marlon Brando in the
Hmm.
back of the head. Marlon Brando falls off his motorcycle. A motorcycle
Yeah, that's right.
runs into an old man, and then the motorcycle crashes on top of the old man and kills him.
Yeah, so Marlon Brando is kind of he's fingered for this crime, even and nobody in town is willing to say that a tire iron was thrown, and that's what caused the motorcycle accident. So it wasn't really Marlon Brando's fault. But with time that comes out. Marlon Brando gets away.
Oh,
Can't thank them.
I gotta say something though, because you said nobody was willing to speak about it, but then so like they go like this whole like thing, like they have Marlon Brando in jail. They're like talking about like, oh, this could be manslaughter, the type of
Yeah.
thing, and that you're going to be going away for a long time, and all of a sudden, like these two guys were like, well, actually, they threw a tire iron and hit him, and the bike, and then the cop is like, why didn't you say this sooner? Like it's like you decided to just wait all of a sudden to
That
say something.
I did think that was a little weird because they mention it very nonchalantly. Like they like it's very just like, oh yeah, a tire iron got thrown, and then yeah, the cops just like, wait, hold on a minute, what is going on? Like you should have said something. I thought the movie would play more with like that they hold the secret, and it wouldn't come out so idiotically. Like it would actually have to get like coerced out of them or
Well,
something.
yeah, it's like they just decided to do it like because they had a guilty conscience, but you'd think like it'd be something like you said, they'd have to kind of more force it out of these people, but they didn't.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, he ends up getting out of it, and then they just get out of town. Like they're ordered to get out, but Marlon Brando does show back up for the end of the movie, and then he gifts the girl his trophy and gets away. Gifts her some stolen items like a fence.
Oh, well, you notice too, like earlier when he gets arrested, like after that motorcycle accident, his trophy had fallen out, and he runs over and desperately grabs, like like I need that trophy.
I need this trophy. I didn't win, which of course there's more to that. There's like some deeper character explanation. It is a little goofy though. Um, but this movie I thought was okay. I think it's an important movie, and I think that's kind of what held it to me. And I don't think it's particularly bad. In some ways, it's interesting, but I think as a whole movie, maybe I was just it just goes on for too long, which is crazy to say for a movie this length. It needed a bit more. I hate to say it, a bit more drama. I think it just needed a little more to the plot, a little more drama.
I thought the same. I was like, I would love some more melodrama type of
Yes.
thing where it's just like him agonizing like over like, no, my dad, he never
Hmm.
gave me the love, or like and nobody ever accepts me for anything, and I have to be this bad guy. I don't want to be bad type. Like if
Yes.
it'd been really funny if it was something like that. I would have liked a little more of that type of stuff, like because there are some super melodramatic movies from the
Oh
50s,
yeah.
and I would have liked to have a little bit more of that in here. But I mean, like you said, it's a completely influential movie that a whole generation is like taken in, and like a whole it's like a whole lifestyle. So uh I could see why somebody would like it. Like if you're really into motorcycles or whatever, and you're like a biker, you'd just be like, yeah, like that's
Mhm.
me. Like I could totally see myself doing that. But I mean, for me, like when you're just sitting down watching like a movie, it's not the most. It doesn't have a whole lot of substance to it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I don't know. I'm gonna give this two types of recommendations. If you're someone of the boomer generation and you haven't seen this movie, you really should. You should check it out. Anybody born outside this generation, I'm gonna give this a not recommend. I don't think it's that enjoyable that you need to pick up and watch this movie. I know
Agreed.
all the boomers that we that listen to our podcast.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, I do think that wraps it up for this one. But Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we are going to be talking about the movie Adopted, which is streaming for free on Tubi.
All right. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. And if you want to email us, you can email us at driveandoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. But be sure to check us out over on the Patreon. But until next time.
Until next time.